Have you ever been really, really tired and the only thing you could think about doing was sitting down on the couch, watching TV, and eating an entire chocolate cake by yourself with a fork? Me too. My name is Ed Trevors. I'm an Anglican priest in the Diocese of Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. I get to serve in the beautiful town of Shelburne, Nova Scotia, in the awesome parish of Church Shelburne that sits on the ancestral and the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. And today I want to talk about our coping mechanisms. See, we all need coping mechanisms. We all have coping mechanisms. A coping mechanism is the thing that we do, whether it's a reaction, something we don't really think about, it just sort of happens, or a response, something that we've given thought to and then made happen. Either way, these coping mechanisms are meant to help us get through times of stress, times of anxiety, times of fatigue, times of confusion, times of anger or grief. Coping mechanisms help us get through those sorts of moments. While we all have coping mechanisms, we all need good coping mechanisms. For example, if I'm having a rough day and my coping mechanism is to drink 12 beer, that's not a good coping mechanism. That makes me feel like that might get me through the particular moment, but it's going to leave me feeling like crap afterwards. If my coping mechanism is to sit on the couch with a fork and a chocolate cake and devour the chocolate cake while watching cartoons, it might get me through the moment, but it won't necessarily leave me feeling in the best of shape afterwards. Something that I figured out this week is that when I'm going through something that I didn't necessarily see coming or something that I didn't necessarily know that I was going through, my coping mechanisms are ancient. They are the things that I would have done when I was a kid. They're the things that I would have done as a teenager. They're the things that I would have done long before I learned about the importance of healthy living. I go back to these ancient learned behaviors, and for the most part, they're not healthy learned behaviors. An unhealthy mechanism may help us deal with the stressor we're experiencing, but it will more than likely leave us experiencing other stressors. It will not actually take care of the stressor it's dealing with. It'll just get us through. It will leave us facing bad consequences. It will leave us feeling bad about ourselves, about our choices. It may leave us feeling physically bad. It may leave us feeling more drained, under greater stress than we were to begin with. An unhealthy coping mechanism will more than likely only see us through a particular moment, after which time we have to pay for it. We have to deal with the consequences of that unhealthy coping mechanism. But a healthy one will do more than just get us through the experience we're having. It'll help us deal directly with the stressor. It will leave us equipped. It will leave us in a position where we have learned something. It will leave us so that we're not dealing with a significant number of consequences caused by the coping of the stressor. There may be other things that we have to deal with, but there won't be negative ramifications to our supposed cure for the problem that we were experiencing. So how do you actually deal with these stressful moments? How do you decide between an unhealthy and a healthy way of coping, way of dealing? The first thing you have to do is you have to be aware that you're actually having an experience that you're going to have to deal with. You have to be aware that you're having an experience that is causing you stress, that is causing you anxiety, that is causing you an emotional response that is taxing your overall system and that you're going to have to deal with, something you're going to have to take care of. I know it sounds crazy, but half the time we go through things and we don't actually realize that these are stressors. We don't actually realize that we are turning to ancient, unhealthy ways of dealing with it. So once you've determined that you actually are experiencing a time of stress, a time of anxiety, something that you're going to have to deal with, the next thing is to be intentional. To be intentional with how you're going to deal with it. You're going to have things like cravings. You're going to have things like your impulses are going to be all over the place. The temptation in your life is going to be through the roof because your body is literally looking into the past, looking through its database for how you would have dealt with this in the past, or for how it experienced other people dealing with similar things in the past. And it's going to have you automatically try to do those things. And it's in these moments where you have to shift. You have to choose a healthy response as opposed to one of these ancient reactions. A healthy response may be something like going for a walk, taking a few deep breaths, drinking a glass of water, having a cup of tea, calling a friend, journaling, exercising. Dealing with stressful moments in healthy ways requires us to be aware that we are experiencing the moment, and it requires us to be intentional with how we deal with the moment. To literally go to war with those almost automatic, intuitive temptations and cravings. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, and may you know the peace of being in God's presence. And I pray that as you walk through life, you'll be increasingly aware of where you are and what's going on, and you'll be increasingly intentional about how you are dealing with these moments. Amen.